Hey, what's up? Welcome to this new video. This one is paper 1-3 of October-November 2011. Now, with that being said, obviously, let's move on to question number 1. So in this question, we have what? The coefficient of x squared in this expansion is 30, which means if you were to expand everything, your term in x squared will be 30x squared. That's what it means. Now, we have to use that information to find the value of k. So pretty easy. Suppose you were to expand this, but here we only care about the term in x squared. So how would you find exactly the term in x squared in this expansion? So we can choose, right? So first, 5 is a power, combination something. Here we have k times plus 1 over 3x. Now we understand it needs to be the term in x squared. Now for it to be x squared, x have to be power 2, right? If this is 2, this will be 2 as well. 5 minus 3 is 3. So now we can simplify. 5 combination 2, that should be 10. And then we have k power 3 is k cubed times, this will be x squared over 9. Because 3 squared is obviously 9. So let's simplify. This will give you what? This will give you 10 over 9 k cubed x squared. But we know the term in x squared is given to you by 30 x squared. So by comparison, we can kind of see this. So 10 over 9 k cubed has to be the value of 30. So simplify. K cubed have to be what? 30 times 9, so send 9 on top, then send 10 to the bottom. That will be what? So 30 times 9 divided by 10. That should be 27. So finally, k have to be cubic root of 27, and that should be 3. We can check. Cubic root of 27, that should be 3. So your value of k will be 3 for question in finding the value of k for this expansion. Now let's move on to the next question. The first and the second terms of a progression is 4 and 8 respectively. Okay. Now the sum of the first 10 terms of this progression, so we have to find the sum of the first 10 terms if the progression is AP. So in the first scenario, for AP, we know the sum of the first n terms have to be half times n times 2a plus n minus 1 times d. Now this is given to you on your list as well. You don't need to memorize, but if you do, that's okay as well. Also, we know the nth term have to be what? A plus n minus 1 times d. Now we have to use the given information. The first term is 4 and the second term is 8, which means so second term is 8. First and second terms. Now obviously the common difference will have to be what? Because we know that for AP, for example, if my first term, second term, my first term is 4, my second term is 8, what is my third term? It have to be 12, because the common difference here is plus 4 and plus 4. So I do realize D have to be 4 right here. Now from this, I can find the sum of the first 10 terms. So replace back in your formula, you will have half times 10, 2 times a will be 8, plus n minus 1 should be 9 times 4. D is 4. Simplify, that should be 5 over here. And what is inside? 8 plus 9 times 4, that should be 44 times 5. That will be 220. There you go. So the sum of the first 10 terms is 220. Now for part 2, we have to find the same thing if it is a GP. So let's find out. Sum of the first 10 term if it is a GP. Now we know something. For example, if my first term is 4, my second term is 8, what is my common ratio? You would see common ratio is usually found by what? So usually for a GP, if you take 4 times R should give you this term. So 4R should be 8, which means R have to be 2. Okay, so we know R, we know A. A is my first term. We can find the sum of the first 10 terms. So that will be what? That will be A is 4 times R power n, 2 power n minus 1 over the value of 2 minus 1. So 2 power 10 minus 1 times 4, that should be 40, 92. That should be the sum of the first 10 terms for this expansion. Okay, because every time multiply by 2, the third term should be what? The third term should be 16. Then 232, keep going on as the number will keep increasing. And then we have to add everything. That will give you this as your answer for part 2 if the progression is a GP. Let's move on to the next question. The diagram shows a curve y equal to 2x power 5 plus 3x cubed. This is my curve. And also we have a straight line y equal to 2x right here, intersecting the curve at point O, so A, O, and B. So A, O, and B. So these are the points of intersection. Now part 1, we have to show the x value of A and B satisfy this equation. So pretty easy. So in other words, it means that how would you find the points A and B? So by observation, we can see the points of A and B, they are points of intersection between that line and the curve. So how would you find that usually? Intersection, meets, cuts, we have to solve simultaneously. This is my equation number 1. Equation number 2. So here we have y as subject already. We can replace in this one. So on one side you will have 2x, and that will be 2x power 5 plus 3x cubed. Send everything to one side, you will have 2x power 5 plus 3x cubed minus 2x have to be 0. And this is right here. We have x power 5, x power 3, x, we can divide by x everywhere. That will be 2x power 4 plus 3x squared minus 2. And this is shown as required. Right here, shown as required. Now for part 2, we have to solve this equation, and hence, using that, find the points of A and B, giving your answer in exact form. So pretty easy. How would you solve this? So let's observe. Here we have 2x power 4 plus 3x squared minus 2. Now we can use a trick here just to help you out. For example, I can let u equal to x squared. That will be 2u squared plus 3u minus 2. Now we can factorize. That will be 2 times u, and this is 2 times 1. To get plus 3, we have to have plus 4 minus 1. So u will be half, and u will be minus 2. So here we have the values of u. However, we are trying to find the value of x. So here we have x squared is half, x squared is minus 2. This is obviously not possible, because square of a value will always be positive. Now for this one, we can see x have to be plus minus root of 1 over 2. Now, x can be plus root 1 over 2, or x can be minus root 1 over 2. Now we can rewrite this as what? Same thing as 1 over root 2 minus 1 over root 2. Because obviously, this is what? For example, what is that? Same thing as root 1 over root 2, which is 1 over root 2, correct? Right. Now let's find the corresponding y value. So from what we can see here, y is equal to 2x, so just replace. Here you have y is equal to 2 times x. That will be 2 over root 2. Now obviously, we can try to simplify this if you want to, for example, by the laws of indices. So what is 2 root, so what is root 2? It is 2 power half. 2 is simply 1, right? So that will be 2, 1, divide become minus half. That should be 2 half. That should be simply minus root 2. So plus root 2, no minus. So here the point will be 1 over root 2 and then root 2 for the value. That is for this point. How about this one? Same steps. Y will be 2 times x. That should be minus 2 over root 2. Now we can take out minus. Inside you will have 2 over root 2. which is the same thing as minus 2 power half, which is minus root 2. This will be the point minus 1 over root 2 and minus root 2. So the exact values, obviously this will be your point A and this will be your point B. Now why did I choose this as A? Because as you can see, this one happens before this point, obviously, and that will be A happens before B, so A will be this one and B will be this one. So that will be your question part 2, to finding this solution and then trying to solve to find the value of x and y for the points A and B. Now one thing just to clarify, how do I find this over here? Because some people might be confused. Because what is x power 4? We can rewrite this as x power 2 square. Now since we assumed that u is this, so we replace inside, that will be u squared. That's why we have this will become this. So just to clarify, this is how we get this. Okay, that will be part 2 of your question. So let's move on to the next question. In the diagram, we have A, B, C, D is a so A, B, C, D is a parallelogram with AB equal to BC. So AB is equal to BC, so BD, this one, and DC. So this, and this are of the length 10 centimeters. Now what else? So what do we know about this shape? We know that this side has to be same direction as this, and this also have to be the same direction as this, right? Now something we can kind of derive right away is that whenever you have the Z shape, right, by alternate angle theorem, this will have to be, the interior angles have to be the same. This also will be 0.8 radians. Something we can kind of derive right away. Now what else? So we have the angle, this is this, good to know, and then APD, and BQC are arcs of circle center B, center is B over here, and center D respectively. Okay, fair enough. Let's see what can we do for this question. So part 1, we have to find the area of ABCD. A, B, C, and D. So how would you find the area of this shape? So it's pretty, it's not too bad. So usually you can find the area of one of them. We can break this down into 2 pieces. If you want to, we can do that as well. Just to explain, we can look at the shape into 2 pieces. Piece number 1, piece number 2. Piece number 1 and piece number 2. And we know they are the same. 1 and 2 are the same, right? Now, if you look, ABD is what? It's a triangle. How do you find area of triangle? You will do, this is the height, right? This is the perpendicular height. Now again, I guess we can do it directly as well, because why would we waste our time trying to find one by one? So how do you find the area of ABCD? It is a parallelogram. So area is simply the length, which is AB, times the perpendicular height. So we have this length, we just have to find the value of the height. So AB is 10. How would you find the height? Let's see. If you observe, let's call this what? Let's call this X. DXB is a right angle triangle, right? We have this side, this is my H side, right? And I'm trying to find this height. That will be my opposite side, and that will be sine. Sine of the angle, 0.8, will be my height over 10. Height will be 10 sine of 0.8. So the area will be what? 10 sine of, here we have to use radians, 0.8 times 10. That should be 71.7356. Now correct your 3SF, that should be 71.7 centimeters square for that area of ABCD. Now the first method I was trying to explain is also the same method. So the idea is that I was trying to find area number 1 first, which is area of a triangle, half, times base is 10, and times the height. The height is 10 sine 0.8, right? Now we understand this is only number 1. Number 2, we have to also plus the same thing. So we just had to find this, multiply by 2, and it should also give you the same value as well for the area. Okay, so that will be part 1 of your question. Now for part 2, we have to find the area of the complete figure ABQCDP. So ABQCDP, everything. So we have to find this one, right? Okay, so how would you find this area? So now we understand this area right here is the same as this, correct? Great. So we can just first find one of them. Let's find this one. Let's call this number 1 in pink. And then we can just multiply by 2 to get this one as well. So how would you find this area? So by observation, you can look at the shape D, B, and C, the whole thing. It will be area of a sector. So let me write this down. So first step, we can find area of sector D, B, C. That will be 10, that will be 10, and that will be 0.8. So that will be half r square theta. That will be the area of the whole sector. Half times 10 square times 0.8. That should be 40. Now, from this point on, I need to remove the area of the triangle so I can have this one only remaining. So remove area of triangle. Triangle is this, this, and this. So that will be the side of 10. Side of 10, and this is the angle of 0.8. So that will be half. Sine of the angle in between, that will be 0.8. And times the two sides. Again, this is one of the methods you can use. However, since we have already found that already, from here you can see, triangle is the same as half times base times height. We know this as well, but why not use this one too? If you can, just use this one. That will be half times sine of 0.8 times 10 times 10. That should be 35.867. So now the area that we want, which is number 1 right now, this one, will be the whole thing minus the inside thing. That will be 40 minus 35.867. So 40, 35.867, that should be 4.133. Now this is just this side. We also have to add this side. So multiply by 2. That will be times 2. That will be 8.266. Now from this point, obviously we have to add the area of the shape ABCD. So that will be 71.7356 plus 8.266. Let's see what do we get. That will be 80.0 centimeters square for the area. Now for part 3, we have to find the perimeter of the complete figure. So pretty easy. What is perimeter? Is the distance around this figure. So step by step. By definition, P will be what? This side is 10 plus this side will be what? This is the arc length, can be found by using your formula r theta, which is 10 times the angle, and plus this one, that will be 10, and again plus this one, which is arc length, which is r theta. That will be 20, so 10 is 20, plus 10 times 0.8 times 2. That should be 36. So this is the perimeter, which is distance. That will be 36 centimeters. That will be your answer for part 3 of your question. Now let's move on to the next question. So here we have 3 sin square x minus 8 cos x minus 7 equal to 0. So we have to show for the real values of x, we have this. So I guess we have to kind of first try to solve the equation above. So let's try this. So at first we have, because we have to kind of realize something. In the end, we have cos here, so which means we have to change the sign to cos, right? Because at the end we only deal with cos. So let's first change what is sine square x? It is 1 minus cos square x minus 8 cos x minus 7 have to be 0. Now we can simplify. That will be 3 minus 3 cos square x minus 8 cos x minus 7 have to be 0. Now we can definitely send everything to one side. You will have 3 cos square x plus 8 cos x. 3 minus 7 is minus 4. Send this over here, become plus 4. Right. Now, if you guys can observe, here we have what? We have a quadratic equation, right? So if you guys cannot, no big deal. We can always let u equal to cos x. So you will have 3u squared plus 8u plus 4 equal to 0. Now we can see clearly it is a quadratic equation. And how do we solve this? We can solve this by factorization or by using your formula. So 3u squared is 3u times u. 4 is 1 times 4. So in this case, we can see what is possible. Here we need the value of plus 8. Let's see if that's possible or not. So plus 8, no, it's not possible. So we can try something else. That will be 3u times u, and 4 is 2 times 2. So here we can do plus 6 and plus 2. So u can be minus 2 over 3. U can be minus 2. And this is obviously what's going to happen, because we understand that u is actually cos of x equal to minus 2. This is invalid. Why? Because we know the value of cos x can only be between the value of minus 1 and 1. Okay? Because of that, it will not be possible. The only value remaining will be cos of x will be minus 2 over 3. As you can see, this is shown as required. So show for real values of x, we have this, and this is shown as required. Now for part 3, hence solve this equation, this one. Now hence means using the value on top, using that to solve this. Now by comparison, you can see this is almost the same equation as this one. The only difference is the angle here is this and this is x. So which means if you were to simplify this, in the end you will end up with cos theta plus 70 is equal to minus 2 over 3. So here we have to solve this one. So let's do this. So right now we have to solve cos of theta plus 70 have to be minus 2 over 3. Now the value of cos here is negative, right? If it is negative, what's going to happen? We have to look at that, at the quadrants. ASTC. Now this will be, when cos is negative, it will be in this quadrant and also in this quadrant. It will be 180 minus alpha, and here we can use 180 plus alpha. Now again, alpha is just a fake angle that I'm using to help me find the value of theta. Now, what is alpha? Alpha is pretty easy. Alpha is actually cos inverse of the positive value of this. Now again, only when we have a negative value, we will try to use these fake angles to kind of help us to find the correct answer. But if this was positive, you don't need to go through this step. You can simply send this over here, you find the value directly. Now, it is up to you. There's always other methods as well to do this question. It is up to you to choose which one is more convenient for you. Now from this, cos inverse of 2 over 3, here we have to use degrees. That should be 48.2 degrees. So this is the value of alpha. Now we have to use this quadrant to find this angle. The actual angle we have inside is theta plus 70. That will be what? According to the quadrants, will be 180 minus 48.2. That should be 131.8. Or can be 180 plus 48.2. That should be 228.2. So finally, theta will be what? 131.8 minus 70, that should be 61.8, and 228.2 minus 70, that should be 158.8. This should be 8 here. I think I made a mistake, did I? I don't think so. 180 plus 2 seems to be fine. 0.2. Okay, so that will be your value for theta, and theta have to be between the angle of 0 and 180. So double check. For this one should be 180 minus 48.2, that is correct, and also the other one will be 180 plus 48.2, and that is also correct. So yep, that should be the value of theta. Okay, that is 61.8 and 158.2 for theta between 0 and 180. That is also very important, so we don't have to provide values outside of the domain needed. That will be part 2 of your question. Let's move on to the next question. So relative to the point O, the position vectors of points A and B are given to you by these two. So we understand that the vectors OA is this, OB is this. Now part 1, we have to use scalar product to find the angle BOA. So from O going to B, O going to A. So we have those two directions already. We just have to find the angle BOA. So how would you do this? Pretty easy. First, that will be direction of OB, that will be 5 minus 2 minus 3, dot product of OA, that should be 3, 4 minus 1, equal to the magnitude of those two vectors. So here we have 25 plus 4 plus 9, that should be root of 38, and that should be root of 9 plus 16 plus 1 should be 26. And then cos of the angle BOA. Simplify. 5 times 3 plus minus 2 times 4 plus minus 3 times minus 1. That should be 10. So 10 is equal to root of 38 times root of 26. Cos of the angle BOA. Now we just have to find the value of the angle, pretty easy. From here we can have what? Cos of BOA should be what? This divided by this. That will be 10 divided by root of 38 times root of 26. That will be 0.318. And then cos inverse of that will be BOA will be 71.5 degrees, correct to 1 decimal place. Now let's move on to part 2. Now, the point C is the midpoint of AB. So let's first find the point C. How would you find the midpoint of AB? So we know the point A is given to you by 3, 4 minus 1, and the point B is given to you by 5, minus 2, and minus 3. The point C will be pretty easy. x1 plus x2 is 8 divided by 2 should be 4. y1 plus y2, that should be 2, and then divided by 2 should be 1. This plus this should be minus 4 divided by 2 should be minus 2. That will be my point C. Now what's next? Here we have the point D is such that OD is 2 times OB. So 2 times OB is 5 minus 2 minus 3. That should be 10 minus 4 and minus 6. Right. So finally we have to find the value of DC. By definition, DC is OC minus OD. That will be what? OC is 4, 1 minus 2. OD will be 10 minus 4 minus 6. That should be 4 minus 10 will be minus 6, and that should be 5, and that should be 4. So from here we can find the value. That should be minus 6i plus 5j plus 4k. Okay, and that should be your vector DC. Now let's move on to the next question. Here we have a straight line passes through the point 2, 0. So we have a passing point and has gradient m. Okay, now write down the equation of the line. So let's try. So to find the equation of a line, we have to have a passing point and the gradient. So y minus your passing, the corresponding value, x minus your corresponding value should be equal to the gradient. Now we can just cross multiply. You will have y equal to mx minus 2m. This will be my equation of my straight line. That is part 1 of your question. Now, find the two values of m for which the line is a tangent to the curve this. For each value of m, find the points where the line touches the curve. So pretty easy. Now we have to understand, when we say the line is a tangent to the curve, it means the line meets the curve at exactly one point. They have one solution. Now if they have one solution, it means their discriminant have to be equal to 0. So let's solve this. This is my equation number 1, my equation number 2. So we can solve simultaneously. On one side you will have mx minus 2m have to be x squared minus 4x plus 5. Send everything to one side, you will have x squared minus 4x minus mx plus 5 plus 2m is 0. X squared, here we can factorize x outside. For example, you will have what? Let's say I factorize minus x outside. Minus x, that'll be 4 plus m, and you will have 5 plus 2m. This is my value of a, my value of b, and this is my value of c. So b squared will be minus 1, 4 plus m squared minus 4 times a times c. Right. And have to be equal to 0 because they only have one solution, which I understand b squared minus 4ac have to be 0. Now simplify, that will give you 16 plus 8m plus m squared minus 20 minus 8m. That will be m squared. This and this will cancel out. And 16 minus this one. Let's see what happens. So here we have 16 minus 20 should be minus 4. 0. So m squared have to be 4, which means m have to be plus minus 2. Now, when m, let me continue here. When m is 2, we have to find what? Find the point where the line touches the curve. So let's find that. So from here we will have this equation here. So when m is 2, that will be x squared minus, that will be so 4 plus 2 will be 6x, and here we have 2 times 2 will be plus 9. That will be 0. So factorize, that will give you x, 9 is 3 times 3. To get minus 6, that will be minus 3 minus 3. So x will be the value of 3. So, and what is the corresponding value of y? Replace back in your equation. That will be y is equal to, m is 2 now, 2x minus 4, so x will be 3. 2 times 3 is 6, minus 4 is 2. So the point will be 3, 2 when m is 2. Now when m is equal to minus 2, that will be what? X squared. 4 minus 2 is 2, that will be minus 2x. That will be 5 minus 4 should be plus 1. Now we can factorize again. Let's see what happens. That will be x times x. 1 times 1. That will be minus 1 minus 1. X will be the value of 1. Y will be what? Replace back in your equation. Here we have y is equal to minus 2x. So y is equal to minus 2x plus the value of 4. Replace here. Minus 2 plus 4 is 2. The point is 1, 2. Here you go. These are the corresponding points for each value of m. That is part 2 of your question. Now for part 3, we have to express this in the form of this, and hence, otherwise, write down the coordinates of the minimum point. So pretty easy. We just have to complete the squares for this one. So here we have x squared minus 4x plus 5. Now because here we have 1, we can continue to the next step. That will be x squared. Here we have minus 4x. Now here we have to add something. The value will be the 1 right here. That will be 4 divided by 2 square. Now obviously when you add something, you also have to minus the same value. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Square will be 4. So that your equation does not change. Now this whole thing here will change to a complete square form. That will be x is x. Here we have minus. That will be minus. Inside we have 2. That will be 2. And that will be square. Now here we have 5 minus 4 is 1. So this will be, in this form, is give you this. Now we have to write down the minimum point. Again, we can use this to find the minimum point. So the value at the end will always be the minimum value, which is the y value, right? And the value inside we have to equate to 0 that will be x is 2. Hence, the minimum point will be 2 and 1. So again, if you guys want to go through the other way as well, it's pretty easy. For example, we always say what? At minimum point or the stationary point, what do we know? dy by dx have to be 0. So let's find dy by dx. That will be 2x minus 4 have to be 0. So x will be 2. Now replace back in your equation. That will be 2 squared is 4. 4 minus 8 is minus, so 4 here. Minus the value of 8, that should be minus 4 plus 5 is 1. So that will be 2, 1, which is also your minimum point by using this one, dy by dx. You have two methods you can use to find that point. Again, I think this is the easiest way. We have to just to understand the value at the end will be your y value right here, and the value inside we just have to equate to 0 to find the x value. And that will be your part 3 of your question. Now let's move on to the next question. A curve y equal to f of x has a stationary point P. Okay. Now it is given that f prime of x. Now what is f prime? We have to understand f prime is simply dy by dx is given to you by this, where k is a constant. Now let's move on. Now we have to show that k is equal to minus 2. Hence, find the x value of the other stationary point. So let's think, how can we find that? We are given something we have to use. We're given this information. We're given that we have a stationary point at P, which is this one. Now, how would you find your stationary point usually? You would say at stationary point, what do we know? Dy by dx have to be 0. Now we understand dy by dx is simply f prime of x. So we know what is f prime of x. Let's replace. You will have 2x squared plus kx minus 12 have to be 0. Now, what can we do? So let's think. So what happened was, by solving this equation, we had this as my solution. For example, here, this is my value of x, my value of y. If that makes sense. P is 3 minus 10. Now this is one of the values of x. X is equal to 3. Now x equal to 3 is one of the solutions, if that makes sense. Now what is the factor? We have to send this over here. So x minus 3 will be one of the factors. Now given that our equation is x squared, we know that we will have to have two factors or two solutions for x because it is x squared. Now let the other solution be x equal to b, for example, and that will become x minus b will be the other factor. For example, if I expand, so f of x will be what? F prime of x will be taking the first one multiplied by the other one. Let's see what happens. That will give you x squared, and that will be minus bx minus 3x plus 3b. Simplify, that will be x squared, and here we can have plus, and we have minus b minus 3x plus 3b. Now by comparison, you can see the actual value of f prime of x is, we have 2 here. So how can you change this to become 2? We have to multiply by 2 everywhere. So we can also have 2 here. That will be 2x squared plus, that will be minus 2b minus 6 times x, and plus, that will be 6b. That makes sense. So we understand f prime of x is the same thing as this, right? So we can compare each of the terms. So here we have 2x squared is 2x squared. Here we have kx is this. So by comparison, you can see k will have to be minus 2b minus 6. And this one have to be this one. So here we have minus 12 have to be 6b, which means b have to be minus 2. Now replace the value back in here. K will have to be minus 2 times minus 2 minus 6. That will be 4 minus 6 will be minus 2. Okay. That will be my value of k shown as required. Now hence, find the x value of the other point. So pretty easy. As we have seen here, the other point will be what? X equal to b. So b is minus 2, minus 2. Right? The point will be, the x value of the other point will be minus 2. Okay, so that will be part 1 of your question. Again, we were able to solve this by first understanding that we have a stationary point. On the point, we have an x value and the y value, but the x value is obtained from dy by dx at 0. So equate that, should give you this. Now we understand if you were to solve this equation, that will give you x as 3 as one of the solutions, right? But we also know that because here we have x squared, we need to have 2 solutions, right? For example, if you had x cubed, you will need to have 3 solutions, right? If that makes sense. So I mentioned, let x for the other solution equal to b. So it means that if I send b over here, my factor will be x minus b, right? Now to get back f of x, I can always multiply the 2 factors together. You will get this for now. But now to make this a proper comparison, I can see here we have 2, here we have 1, so we have to multiply by 2 to make this become kind of the same. Now by comparing one by one, we can solve to find the value of k and finding the value of b. Okay, that will be part 1 of your question. Now for part 2, we have to find the second derivative of my function and find the nature of the points p and q. So pretty easy. F prime, let's see what happens. That will be 4x plus k is minus 2. Now let's see. So f prime at the point p is value of x is 3. That will be 12 minus 2 is 10. F prime at the value of q, which is minus 2, that should be negative, so that should be minus 10. So you can write the nature of the points. So the point p is 3 minus 10. Because it is a positive value, it will be a minimum point, and obviously the other one will be what? This is the if it is negative, this is the point q, sorry, we don't know why, it is a maximum point. Okay. Now what else do we need to know? So finally we have to find f of x. So pretty easy. To find f of x, we have to integrate f prime of x with respect to dx. That will be f prime of x is 2x squared minus 2x minus 12 by dx. That will be 2 over 3 x power 3 minus x squared minus 12x plus c. That will be f of x. Now let's move on to the next questions. We have to find the value of c. So we have to use the passing point p. P is 3 minus 10. That will be x value, y value. Replace back in your equation. That will be minus 10 here. That will be 2 over 3. Because again, y and f of x are the same thing, right? We have to kind of guess that. Same thing. Replace back in here, we have this, and then here we have x power 3, that should be x power 3, let it be. That should be 9 minus the value of 36 plus c. Simplify. That will cancel out, that should be 2. So we have 2 times 9 minus 36. That will be minus 27. That should be minus 10 plus 27 should be 17 equal to 6. So I see. So finally, the value of f of x, which is going to be 2 over 3 x power 3 minus x power 2 minus 12x plus 17. And that will be f of x for part 3 of your question. Now let's move on to the next question. Functions f and g are defined by the following. Okay, so f of x is equal to 2x plus 3 for x is less than 0. And we have g of x is equal to this for x is less than 3. Okay, fair enough. Now part 1, we have to express f of x in terms, f inverse of x in terms of x and solve this equation. So let's see what can we do. So let's see how can we solve this. So first let's find this. Let y equal to f of x. That will be 2x plus 3. So 2x will be y minus 3. X will be y minus 3 over 2. So this will give you f inverse is in terms of x, that should be x minus 3 over 2. Now we have to solve this equation, so let's see how can we solve this. Let's see what happens, right? We have 2x plus 3 is equal to x minus 3 over 2. We can try to cross multiply. You will have, from here you will have 4x plus 6 is equal to x minus 3. That should be 3x, and that should be minus 9. X will be minus 3. Okay, that will be one of these solutions. Now what else? So we can have part 2. On the same diagram, we have to sketch the graph of y equal to f of x and y equal to f inverse of x. We have to show the coordinates of the points of intersection and the relationship between the graphs. Okay, so let's find out. So at first we have y equal to f of x. Y will be 2x plus 3. When x is equal to 0, y will be the value of 3. Now when x is equal to minus 3, y will be what? Let's see. 2 times minus 3 plus 3, that should be minus 3. That will be 0, 3, and minus 3, minus 3. So let me first sketch the axis. For example, this is the y-axis, and this is the x-axis, x and y. Now here we have to be careful to understand that f of x is only defined for x is less or equal to 0. So we only care about the values on this side. The first point will be 0, 3. 0, 3 should be something, let's say over here. And then we have the value of minus 3, 3. So minus 3, 3, let's say somewhere over here. Over here, why not? So let me join these two to form our first line. Now my equation of y equal to f of x. So again, we have to remove this part. Why? Because x is less than 0, so we don't need anything on this side. Now same logic, we have to kind of reflect on the line y equal to x, because they are f and f inverse, their relationship is a reflection on the line y equal to x. So you have to show this y equal to x as their relationship. Now we can obviously kind of just kind of do this. That should be point of intersection somewhere over here. Try our best to kind of sketch, but not too somewhere over here, let's say, and that should be stopping right here, right? That should be your point over here, and that should be the value of, this is the value of 3, and that should be 3 as well. And here we have minus 3 and minus 3. Okay, so here we have to show these two, which is done. So here we have y equal to f of x. Here we have y equal to f inverse of x, sorry. And we have to show the points of intersection, which is this one, minus 3, 3. And the relationship, which is this line, y equal to x. That is part 2 of your question. Now for part 3, we have to find the set of values for x, of x, for which this is true. So let's find out. So what is g of f of x? That will be, as you can see here, we have g of x is this. So let's replace. You will have what? G of f of x will be, so here we have g, we'll replace inside, you will have f of x square minus 6 times f of x. Have to be less than the value of 16. So let's solve. F of x is now 2x plus 3 square minus 6, 2x plus 3. So let's see what happens. You will have 4x square plus 12x plus 9 minus 12x minus 18 less than this one. So that will be 4x square. this and this will cancel out, obviously. And 9 minus 18, so 9 minus 18 minus 16 should be minus 25. This. Now obviously, as you can see, we have to solve this step by step. First, let's find the critical values of x. That will be 4x squared minus 25 equal to 0. So x squared will be 25 over 4, which means x have to be plus minus 5 over 2, which is plus minus 2.5. So now we have to look at the graph. That is minus 2.5, and that is 2.5. The graph shape will be this one, because the coefficient of x squared is positive, the graph will be a minimum curve. This is my line of 0. As you can see, it needs to be below 0, so below will be this part, right? That will be what? That will be x have to be between the value of minus 2.5 and 2.5 for that to be possible. So this is the set of values for x. So now once we have this domain, we have to go back up and understand something. Here we have the function g of f of x, which is a composite function, right? G of f of x. So what is the range or domain of this? Domain of this will be according to f of x. So domain of this will be less than 0, less or equal to 0. So based on that, because here we have two limits now, we have this and also x have to be less or equal to 0. So combining these two together, what is going to be your answer? So as you can see, x will have to be 0 and minus 0.25. Obviously that will be this, and okay, that should be your answer, combining these two domains. So at first, by solving this, you will get this one, but going back to your main question, g of f of x is actually a composite function. It will have a given domain. So we have to know the domain of this is actually the domain of f of x. F of x have to be less than 0, so we have two things to consider, two domains. First is this one and first is this one. Combining these two, you will have this as your answer for the domain in which have to be less than 16 for the question part 3. Now let's move on to the next question. The diagram shows the line y equal to x plus 1. This is the line y equal to x plus 1, straight line. Now we also have the curve, this one. So the first thing I like to do is I like to rewrite the equation. I know that square root is simply power half. That will be this, power half. Now they meet at the point of minus 1, 0, which is this one, and then 0, 1, which is this one. So they have 2 points of intersection. That is good to know. Now what else? We have to find the area of the shaded region. So how would you find the area of the region? So by observation, it will be the area below the curve minus the area below the triangle. So let's first number 1. Under curve will be integration, limits of what? Of 0 minus 1. And the curve is y equal to x plus 1 power half respect to dx. First thing first, increase the power by 1. That should be 3 over 2. Divide by the same power. Then limits of 0 minus 1. So let's see what happens. So here you will have 2 over 3 outside, and here we have 0, that should be 1 minus, that should be 0 here. So minus 1 plus 1 is 0, that should be 0. So the whole area is 2 over 3. Now we have to minus the area of the triangle, so by observation, triangle will be what? Half, time base, base is 1, time height, height is also 1, that will be 0.5. So the area is the whole thing, is this one, minus half. Let's see what happens. 2 over 3 minus 1 over 2, that should be 1 over 6. That will be units square for the area of this region. Now let's move on. We have to find the volume obtained when the area is rotated 360 about the y-axis. Now here as you can see, it is about the y-axis. Now what is the formula we know when it is rotation about the y-axis? It will be what? Volume will be pi integration of x squared dx. So dy because it is y-axis. This is how usually you will find this. So let's find the x square values of our equations. So here we have two equations. Here we have one is this is equal to x plus this power half, and here we have y equal to x plus 1. This is my straight line and my curve. But let's first find this one. Let's make x become subject first. Square both sides. That will be y squared is equal to x plus 1. X will be y squared minus 1. X squared will be y squared minus 1 squared. Now if you want to simplify, that will become what? Y power 4 minus 2y squared plus 1. That is for my curve, right? Now for this one, x will be y minus 1. X squared will be y minus 1 squared. That will be simply what? Let's think. That will give you y squared minus 2y plus 1. So this is the equation of the straight line. This is for the curve. But now by observation, if you were to rotate about the y-axis, as you can see, we only care about this region. It will be the whole volume, this whole thing, right, minus the volume below the straight line. Now there's always different ways we can find the volume for the straight line. It will be volume of a cone. You can do that if you want to, but I can also find this directly from my equation. It will be first volume of the curve. Below the curve will be this one, y power 4 minus 2y squared plus 1. Then minus the volume which is obtained by rotating this line. That should be y squared minus 2y plus 1. Now what is the limit? It is from 0 to 1. So limit will be 1, 0. So we can simplify. That should be volume will be pi 1, 0. So minus this will give you what? So here we have this minus 2 minus 1, that should be minus 3y squared. And then we have plus 2y, and plus 1 minus 1 should be 0. That should be dy. Simplify, let's see what happens. That will give you pi y power 5 over 5 minus 3y power 3 over 3 plus 2y squared over 2. That will be limits of 1, 0. So this cancel out, and this cancel out. So let's first replace. You will have, that should be 1 over 5 minus 1, so 1 actually, and plus 1 as well, minus 0. So 1 over 5 minus 1 plus 1 should be just 1 over 5. Pi units cube for the volume obtained. Now there's obviously another way to find this. We can first find the volume obtained when you rotate this curve around the y-axis. You find the whole volume that you need, and then you have to remove the volume of a cone, because if you rotate this straight line around this, you will have the shape like this, right? This will be a straight line. Rotate around the x-axis, you will have something like this, for example. And the radius will be what? Will be the value of 1, and the height will be the value of 1 as well. So there's two ways of doing that. One is by doing the whole thing first minus cone, or you can combine them together. You can proceed step by step using the limits. You will find this as your answer for the volume obtained when we have rotation about the y-axis.